They are a much-loved household pet in Britain, but there's been an alarming rise in dog attacks lately, mostly by the American Bully XL breed. We lost sight of how dangerous some dog breeds can be. Joining me is writer Ed West and academic and YouTuber Dr. Lawrence Newport. Ed, Lawrence, thank you for joining us on Spectator TV. Now, Ed, you've written a piece this week, Coffee House. It's been our most read piece, I think, about
wonderful
the most dangerous dog breed we could ever think of, the American Bully XL. There's been a 50% increase in hospital admissions in the UK for dog bites. What's going on here? Can you tell us a bit about it?
Well, over the last 5 years, and in particular the last 2 years, there's been a big rise both in fatalities, which are still relatively small, but also injuries and particularly surgery, which tends to sort of reflect like the most vicious attacks rather than, like hand attacks. And a huge amount of this is down to one particular breed, which is related to both the Staffordshire Bull Terrier and the Pit Bull. The Pit Bull, as you know, is banned in Britain, but has managed to avoid being classified under the Dangerous Dogs Act, and so it's become increasingly popular. And many people will notice these dogs in their area. These are kind of very, very big, like double or staffy almost in some ways, that often look very scary. And the funny thing is that the background story is that lots of the people who run all that dog charities and the Kennel Club are completely in denial about the link between breed and attacks, and it is and there have been lots of very high profile very, very horrific dog fatalities in the last 6 months, and they almost invariably, in fact, I think that they all involve this one particular breed.
So, Lawrence, you've written a big piece about the American Bully XL. I mean, it seems like it's almost come out of nowhere. Where has this breed come from, and why is it so dangerous in your view?
So the breed seems to have been imported from America around about 3-4 years ago. It really gained popularity, I think, over the pandemic. There is no good figures on this, but you can kind of draw some conclusions from the attack figures, unfortunately, as to when about a dog hits majority age. And then we start to see these attacks pick up in about 2021, and then really severely 2022, and even this year as well so far. I would pick up that, as Ed says, they were originally bred from American Pit Bull Terriers and American Staffordshire Terriers. American Staffordshire Terriers are different to English Staffordshire Bull Terriers in that it's basically just a sanitized name of the American Pit Bull Terrier in the US that allows you to kind of sign it up to official kennel clubs under that kind of official name until like the mid-70s. So they were taken from what is essentially a fighting breed. And in the US, dog fighting went on for a very long time. It was still legal in most places until the mid-70s. And even in 2005, there was very little enforcement to stop it. And these dogs, the largest of these dogs, were then bred with each other. And there are claims maybe some Mastiffs were mixed in, but that's not actually easy to find. It looks like a lot of them are heavily pit bull. And they are bred and interbred, and sometimes quite aggressively inbred, in order to get larger and larger muscle mass and larger size. So as where a pit bull might max out about 20 kilograms, an American Bully XL is around about 60 kilograms.
I mean, it seems kind of remarkable that this dog hasn't been banned yet. I mean, Ed, so the RSPCA say on this, we believe focusing on the type of dog rather than their individual actions is a flawed and failing approach. Dog aggression is highly complex, and taking a breed-focused approach is fundamentally flawed. I mean, what do you make of that? Is it dog ownership, or is it
both? And a lot of this comes down to the blank slate idea, which is sort of overwhelmingly dominant in Western society generally. This is a denial of the genetic input into personality, which is very widespread about humans. I mean, we are an urban society, so people who grow up in urban societies, small families, can kind of become unaware of the fact that most traits, in fact all traits, are partly hereditary. So if you bred any animal for certain traits repeatedly, those traits have become much more extreme. So dogs have been deliberately bred this way. So if you get aggressive dogs and they may be aggressive dogs, they're going to become more and more aggressive over time. And it's the same with any dog. I mean, I mentioned my own dog, which is a Portuguese Podengo. I'm not a fan of, I have to say, who's very, very good with kids, as long as you're not a fox, in which case he'll kill your kids. And she's been very, very well trained and everything, but she will always try to attack smaller animals. She's just a hunter by nature, and that's just the way it is. So you can't really just say, oh, a good good owner will make these dogs aggressive, because lots of the fatalities have actually involved quite, pretty good owners who did all the right things. I mean, the dog walker is the classic example. She was perfectly, it's a horrific case, and she warned other people to get away. And when it's reported, there's all this kind of stuff about, she was attacked by all these other dogs. There was a Dachshund, maybe like a cockapoo or something, and it obviously didn't make sense, because that's just, even if a Dachshund wants to attack you, it wouldn't be able to overpower you. And these dogs have a very, it's a combination of both the aggression and the incredible strength. So, it's completely flawed to just say it's the owner. It's a mixture of genetics and upbringing, which makes a dog violent.
So Lawrence, what do you think we can do about this? I mean, can you ban a breed like this, or are these things very easy to circumvent? Do they just mix them with other kinds of dogs and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so this is also a frequent objection from groups like the RSPCA and others, which is that, one, they claim that breed doesn't matter, and two, if it did matter, which we can see from statistics cross-culturally it does, even if it does, you can't do anything about it. The problem with that is that there are at least two different routes which seem to be quite effective. We've banned pit bull types, actually not just the pit bull breed, we banned pit bull types since 1991. Because the government hasn't updated the guidance on what defines a pit bull, and a pit bull types are all the crosses, and for instance, American Bully XLs and American Bullies probably fall under this as well, really. The guidance, if it was updated, could reflect this, and these dogs just simply wouldn't have been able to be imported into the country originally. The fact that the government hasn't updated the guidance essentially created a loophole where these dogs could then be imported, and now we see the effects. And in fact, we can see how good and how effective banning pit bull types has been, in that the moment we get back a pit bull type dog, our attacks skyrocket, which tells us that the Dangerous Dogs Act, contrary to a lot of kind of opinion, seems to have worked pretty well for quite a long time in keeping numbers quite low. The other option is, if the government doesn't want to update guidance, they can today, at any point, add the American Bully breed to the banned list through the signature of the Environment Secretary. It doesn't take much time at all.
Does that mean the dogs are put down if that happens, Lawrence?
So the government has a list of options that they can then pursue. So that would be, you can do anything from, you can enforce leads and muzzles in public, neutering. You can make sure that people can't sell the dogs, so you don't get like a breed, people who are breeders then have to either keep the dogs, or for instance, people who currently own them can't then sell them on. They have to keep them, they have to look after them, they have to have them neutered and muzzled in public. The 1991 ban of pit bulls did have people have to apply to courts to prove that their dogs weren't dangerous, of which, by the way, actually a large number of dogs were shown not to be dangerous and they could keep them. But there was about 1,000 dogs that the court saw, which they said were outwardly aggressive and were deemed dangerous. But the government has these kind of options to hand if they pursued that path.
So Ed, it seems like there are options. The government hasn't acted yet. Do you think this sort of ties into the very deep-seated sort of British love of animals that we almost can't accept sometimes, that some particular types of dogs are dangerous?
Yeah, I remember your question was, they're not going to kill any dogs, are you? I can't imagine anything more popular that the government says, by the way, we're on 25% of the polls, we're going to come and kill your dogs now. I mean, I'm a dog skeptic. I think they bring a lot of joy to people, but they're kind of a nuisance to people who don't want them around. And but obviously I'm out of touch with the great British public here who love dogs absolutely. I think inevitably this probably will. I think there will be legislation. One of the reasons is that these dogs are obviously very dangerous to a lot of other dogs, and have caused a number of deaths. But yeah, I mean, I think the British are probably like the most sentimental about animals. There's like Lawrence mentioned 1 million signatures for that petition about those two dogs that were shot in the East End, which it's looked like clearly that was the right thing to do, and yet.
On the police behalf, sorry.
Yeah, on the police behalf, yeah. But, obviously 1 million people will disagree on that. So
yeah, and you mentioned, I can't remember if you mentioned this in your piece, sorry, but about the fact that often these dogs are marketed as sort of nanny animals.
Yeah.
Care for children. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I mean, I actually got that from Lawrence's piece, and he goes into the sort of myth of that, and I think it was sort of created in the 70s. And I think it was actually, I might be wrong, it was actually about staffies originally.
Yeah.
And it sort of got, I mean, if you look at these dogs, these dogs look satanic. Like, you would obviously never let this monster near your children. It's obviously really, really dangerous. But yeah, that's kind of, testament to the. I mean, if you go to Facebook, there are all these kind of pitbull mom kind of web, like groups where they talk about how amazing their dogs are, and nothing will convince these people otherwise that the dogs are actually quite a bit dangerous. So yeah, I mean that's what you're dealing with. But I think it sounds perfectly reasonable, that kept on lead. I mean, I've seen these dogs out in my local park. I've seen one which I'm pretty sure and it's off the lead. And I think that's unbelievably irresponsible, and that and people shouldn't have to fear being attacked by a dog. It's just kind of a basic kind of principle. And if they are shown to be dangerous, and been lead, or not allowed to breed further, which seems kind of very reasonable to me.
I mean, it's interesting. Lawrence, do you think the sanctions on dog owners should be harsher as well than they are at the moment if your dog does attack someone?
Yeah, and I think if your dog attacks another dog, just last week, there was an average. I think every day there was a reported dog attacked or actually killed by an American bully. If we're talking about preserving other dogs, these dogs, I mean, they are bred from dog fighting stock. These were dogs that were bred to fight other dogs, which just goes to show that we shouldn't be surprised if they are also aggressive to dogs more generally, as well as to people. And in terms of the sanctions on the owner, I do think that realistically we need to be much harsher and much more close on enforcement. There are some rules in the Dangerous Dogs Act at the moment where if you allow your dog to attack somebody and you haven't gone on the sufficient control, there are actual penalties there. But getting the police to investigate or follow up, that's all incredibly difficult. And often in these kind of attacks that happen in public, the pattern seems to be the dog runs off lead, attacks somebody or another dog, or kills another dog, and then runs off, and the owner just leaves. So we really need a better way of enforcing this, and really, I think, adding some harsh penalties that make people realize that having a powerful dog means you have a big responsibility over that animal.